Watch what you bet, Teddy. 3 games on the docket, 2 NFL, 1 in the NBA, and for good reason. The Warriors, can they keep the good times rolling as they head down into the Staples Center to take on the Los Angeles Clippers? Teddy, the angriest man in sports, or at least, thought of that way. DeMarcus Cousins upgraded to probable tonight. Let's talk about some of these game conditions here. Clippers getting 7 points, total of 241.5, money line split minus 280, plus 240. Warriors coming in red hot, averaging 118 points a game on the season. Do the good winning ways continue here, Teddy, in the Sunshine State?
The adjustment and transition to the DeMarcus Cousins era in Golden State will be problematic. I'm telling you that flat out. This team is not going to click on all cylinders immediately with Cousins on the floor. He hasn't been there for the practice times. He hasn't had in the preseason. They haven't had the chance to acclimate to a guy who has the potential to be a monster for them, but it will be a process. This isn't not a flip the switch situation for the Warriors right now. And the rest of the regular season for Golden State is all about, they're not worried about being the number 1 seed. They're not worrying about covering points, but they're worrying about getting acclimated and getting ready for one more great post-season run. And this is a pick your poison kind of game for me because, look, the Warriors haven't just been bad against the spread. They've been miserable against the spread. My numbers show 7, 21, and 1 against the spread when they're not laying doubles. They're 12 and 4 when they're laying double digits. They're destroying teams when they're supposed to destroy teams. But in every game where they're not laying double digits, they've been a 25% ATS proposition over a half a season. So we're not talking about a short, it is for the long-term guys, it's a short sample size, but it's not a short sample size. We're talking about a full half of the campaign at 25% ATS. But I said it's a pick your poison game because the Clippers stink right now too. They're 0-3 on their current homestand. They've been favored twice and lost those games straight up. 9-14 straight up their last 23. And it's not like they've been stepping up in class over and over and over again. They were favored in 15 of those ball games, only won 9 straight up. They are not playing their best basketball right now. So 2 teams I don't trust right now equals an easy pass for me.
Starting Sunday, Conference Championship weekend kicks off. First game on the docket, Teddy, the Saints and the Rams. And the Saints coming in as a 3-point favorite at home. Always tough to beat Drew Brees in the big games at home. There's no question about it. But laying a -3. Looks like about -115 at most outlets out there, 56.5 as the over-under. Not a single injury reported. I mean, we do know Cooper Kupp's out for the Rams, but not a single injury reported for the active lineup coming in this week, which is definitely a boost and a benefit for the Rams. Last time around, we did see, Cooper Kupp was in the game versus the New Orleans Saints. Aqib Talib missed the game, but there are some other ulterior sides on this that we could take a look at as well. Keith Kirkwood, who caught a touchdown pass, Teddy, last week versus the Philadelphia Eagles, looks like he's going to miss this game. The one thing early in the season, because I was real high on the Saints offense, still am, still a good offense, don't get me wrong, great quarterback, great play caller. They're at home. They're going to have some advantages in this game. But they were wiping the field with a lot of teams. And after that Dallas loss, Teddy, 13-10, we're talking about going to Tampa Bay. Yes, on paper, they won by 14 points, but they were down in the second half of that game. Went to Carolina, down most of that game, ended up winning 12-9. Pittsburgh, 31-28, losing to Carolina. Now, they lost to Carolina when most backups were in the game. But even last week to the Philadelphia Eagles at home, down 14-0 to get that game started. Are we seeing the Saints leaking a little bit of oil and showing their vulnerability? Or is this going to be something that they can very easily fix and get out underway in maybe a higher scoring game with the Rams here?
Very easily fix? No. That being said, the Saints won last week. That's what they were supposed to. They didn't cover, and the Rams did. Therefore, the betting bandwagon on the Rams is greater than the betting bandwagon on the Saints right now. It's just that simple. Teams off a cover. Everyone that bet them last week is ready to bet them again. Teams off a non-covering win, and the Saints, the only team in the playoffs to do that so far. Well, the guys that bet them last week aren't quite as excited to get back to the betting window with a squad that didn't look quite as good. I thought the Saints did something last week that was impressive as anything I've seen any team do all year. And that was that 11 minutes and 58-second drive where they overcame 4 offensive penalties to get the ball into the end zone. That was an impressive drive. That was a championship-level drive when you're able to overcome adversity, overcome mistakes, and put the biscuit in the basket. Of all the drives of any team last weekend, that Saints drive to me was the most impressive one of the bunch. All that being said, that's also an under-team drive. Well, this high octane. Remember, people are still talking about the 45-35 and shootout and all of that. if you've watched these two offenses over the course of the last, not just a couple of weeks, it's really been since Thanksgiving for the Rams and for the Saints. Run first, run often. Use the passing game as a complement to the run, not the other way around. The big plays haven't been there for either of these two offenses. It's been dink and dunk, dink and dunk. If this turns into a big play fest, I'm screwed because I got under in my pocket. But I'm anticipating another type of game where it's dink and dunk for both of these squads offensively and a run-first game plan that bodes well for under-bettors a lot more than over-bettors.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that, Teddy. You're looking at two really good running backs, crank up the running game. What's the best way to keep that crowd out of it and not involved? Slow down the game. Keep Drew Brees off the field. If you start turning that into an arcade game down there, that crowd gets into it, and it's going to make it a whole lot harder, as they saw last time they went down to the Dome. Second game, Kansas City, temperatures are rising, and so is the over-under, as we just pointed out, up to 56 at most outlets here. But one thing that's not changing too much is the actual game itself, sidewise, -3, depending on where you're shopping at out there. -120, -110s are still out there. We'll see how that comes down or certainly changes. Eric Berry now upgraded to probable. Duvernay Tardif, the offensive lineman who was a starter for Kansas City. Not sure if he's going to start this weekend, but he'll be back at least for some depth perspective. Also, in the last game that they played in New England, Justin Houston was not in that football game, the pass rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs. He will be playing in this one. A red moon expected for Kansas City. Will Andy Reid be punching another ticket, or I should say his second ticket, to the Super Bowl? Or is it going to be that calm before the storm where Bill Belichick says, look, no matter where this game's being played, how cold it's going to be, we will be there and show up. Should be a good one, Teddy, out in Arrowhead this weekend.
So you're a Philly guy. You remember what happens to Andy Reid this week, right?
I do. We've been through
Andy Reid
times.
with extra time to prepare. That first round game, he's great. Andy Reid, historically, in the championship games, has not been quite as good. And any Eagles fan will tell you that. They remember how they kept getting to the championship game and losing in the Donovan McNabb era, with the lone exception of the one Super Bowl trip. I keep hearing Eric Berry's name talking like he's going to be a factor in this game. Eric Berry hasn't played all year. Okay, I'm not convinced. He may be active. He may get on the field for a couple of plays.
Come on, Teddy. They're saying on that defense, Teddy, they're saying on that defense over there right now, saying, look, Eric Berry's back. We're a completely different defense. Are you buying? Come on, Teddy. Buy into it. Buy into the hype.
Well, that's the handicap. In my mind, that's exactly the handicap for this game. Okay? It's really simple. It's a matter of, do you believe that the Chiefs' defense is any good? All right, the Chiefs' defense, 17 points per game less at home than on the highway. Amazing. Okay, yes. Significant home road dichotomy. Chiefs defense, you can make an argument that their last two games, week 17 against Oakland and the divisional round game against Indy last week, were their two best games of the season.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If that Kansas City defense is any good, they merit this point spread. No question they merit this point spread. If that KC defense is not any good, and the last couple of games are the fraudulent and a mirage, the Patriots will win. Flat out. They'll win straight up. Obviously, bet against us hashtag trending on Twitter, which is a lot of fun to see the players using the word bet. I love it conceptually, big time, because this is something obviously that couldn't have been done even a year ago. And now there's this bet against us trending, which I love. If you're making a case for New England, it's A, that Chiefs defense isn't any good, and B, we've been here before. We know how to win these type of games. You're making a case for Kansas City. And the other case for New England is very real. When you remember back to that first meeting, 43-40 final, the Chiefs had two broken coverage, big play touchdowns, one to Hill, one to Hunt. They got a kickoff. They had a kickoff return touchdown, and they got a turnover deep in Patriots territory that led to a field goal. That was basically 24 cheap points out of the 40 that they scored. Does that happen a second time? Did they get those type of big plays against the Patriots defense? That's clearly going to determine what happens on Sunday. If they get the big plays, KC's going to win this game, especially if their defense steps up. If they don't, and the defense, what we've seen the last couple of weeks, a mirage, the Patriots will not only beat them, they might wipe the field with them.
Yeah, the new, as opposed to Patrick Mahomes versus the nostalgia and Tom Brady, should be a fun one to get after. And you're right. Bill Belichick's had Andy Reid's number over the years. We'll see if that pertains to Sunday, but still a lot of movement going on. Always check out at sportsbookreview.com